Hello, everybody. This is Bart Sharp with Becoming Quantum Conscious, and I have my special guest, Sue Coulson, today. And we are on United Public Radio Network 107.7 and UFO Paranormal Radio Network 105.3 out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana. However, I am out and about these days, and I am broadcasting out of lovely Southwest France. And as you can see by my um, scarf and jacket, it's cold here, and I kind of miss the South, but not that much to return. I'm having a lovely time in France, as it's very magical here, and it's also magical in the United Kingdom, more specifically England, and more specifically in the Avebury Stone Circle. And our show tonight is the mystical visions in the Avebury Stone Circle, England. And this is an amazing place. And we have a bona fide expert on the Stone Circle named Sue Coulson. And I'm just going to read a little bit about her. I find the Avebury Stone Circle one of my top 5 power spots in the world. That's just a personal exploration. And it also gets me out of Texas because it's always cool in England, except for last summer when it was 100 degrees. But most of the time, it is cool and crisp and energizing. And you got all of these great rocks to lean into. And the number one place for great rocks to lean into is the Avebury Stone Circle. And so, with that said, I just wanted to tell a little bit about Sue Coulson's bio. She is the founder of the Cosmic Classroom in Avebury. And this is where she works closely with the Earth and higher dimension light beings of light of the star nations. Her spiritual foundations are rooted in an understanding of the interconnectivity of all things. She has actively studied the energetics of the Avebury environment, as there's much more than the circle, for over 16 years through her psychic survey project. She is dedicated to supporting people who wish to expand personal and collective consciousness through her group gatherings, workshops, private sessions, and other events. And just a little bit about Avebury, tiny little town. It's a World Heritage Site. In other words, it's kind of a site valued, respected, and honored and managed by more of a world site. And it's in the southwest of England, which is about 50 miles west of London. And this is the largest stone circle in the world, where an estimated 98 giant megalithic stones once lined the inside perimeter of this great bank and ditch in a huge circle called a henge. And this stretching away from this circle were avenues, also lined with standing stones. In other words, it's bigger than a circle. And in the surrounding vicinity, we find more stone circles, long barrels, other earthwork features, which denote occupancy since the Neolithic period around 5000 BC. Personally, I think it's older, but we all have our opinions. Avebury is powerfully energetically placed where the veil between the worlds is very thin. The stone circle sits in midway along the St. Michael ley line, and we find converging node points here in the caduceus like masculine and feminine currents, which follow this straight line from Norfolk to Cornwall. In other words, it stretches all the way across England from kind of the northeast all the way down to the southwest. And it's just an amazing place. And I'm so happy to have Sue on the show. I've been to some of her classes. I'm a fan. And thank you so much for being with us, Sue. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to see you again, Bart, and it's a wonderful opportunity to be invited to speak on your show. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you because when I was with you, we had some amazing experiences, and I've had amazing experiences at the Avebury Stone Circle itself. Um, it's one of my favorite places in the world. And I just wanted to ask you just a basic question. What makes the Avebury Stone Circle so special to you?
It's a very interesting question because it's not something that is easy to sum up in 2 words unless you say it just really speaks to my heart. It's one of those places where, like we said in the introduction, the veil between the worlds is very thin. It's very easy here to feel the energies from the unseen realms. It also makes it very easy to tap into the earth energies here, and the stones have such a presence about them that it kind of calls you back. You either get it or you don't, and those people that do get Avebury tend to get called back time and time again. It opens a connection that feels like it brings you home into your own heart space, and it really reels you in.
It really does. And I think, when we talk about walking between the veils, that means a lot of things for a lot of people. And one that just comes up for me is connecting with realities, alien realities, star realities, but
Yes.
also that they come in there almost like the circle resonates it, yet at the same time, it's bringing up all of these dynamic energies from the earth. And at the same time, these wonderful ley lines are passing through it
This is all
all
true.
at once.
I think that's part of its unique makeup, to be honest, Bart. It's like if we start with the basics, just so people understand. You spoke beautifully in the introduction about the St. Michael Lay. So that is a long line that runs across England, and it's about 160 miles to the east coast from here in Avebury, and about 170 miles to the west coast from here in Avebury. And so Avebury's kind of, almost slap bang in the middle. And it's the straight line alignment can literally be drawn on the map with a ruler. But
Yes,
woven around that, there are 2 earth energy currents that have been given masculine and feminine names of the St. Michael current and the St. Mary current. And that was famously written about in a book in the early 1980s by Paul Broadhurst and Hamish Miller in a book called The Sun and the Serpent, where these 2 British dowsers followed those energy currents and really brought to light and to the world how these pathways flow.
mm,
It's a very important book because I think it's opened the door for lots of other people to explore earth energies in that kind of balanced way.
well,
So
these,
when we talk about a caduceus fashion, we mean literally like 2 currents, like you imagine, like many people know of the Kundalini path that goes through the body, where there are 2 pathways and they cross over at the chakra points. Happens, we have 2 pathways of energy, and where they cross, they make important power points. And
they
so
do.
on that ley line, on that ley, if you like, there are 21 crossing points, and 3 of them are right here in Avebury, within the Avebury landscape, which makes
Yes.
Avebury, an important power point on the planet.
And those who have never been to Avebury, to just give a little bit of a map, and we're going to have to do this verbally. It is a large circle of stones, basically, uh, somewhere around
It's a kilometer
yeah,
circumference.
kilometer circumference. And then there's 2 major centers within the circle, and one is where the St. Michael ley lines meet. And then there's that very strange one on the other side of the street. And when I say street, there's literally a street and a road that run like a cross line in between the circle itself. So you have all of this auto traffic, bars, stores, coffee shops, all within the circle. So you can get the best energized cup of coffee on the planet Earth there, by the way. And the beers, I think they're stronger there, actually, at least in my opinion. Then again, I can't handle English beer that well. But the other stone circle on the other side of the street with the three, I think there's three really tall ones. That one's a phenomenal circle that seems to match up with the St. Michael's ley line. What do you think about that?
Well, if I can just add some more to that. So if you think of the big circle as the container, the big circle that's got the bank and the ditch and the 98 standing stones inside it, around its perimeter. Within the center of that big circle, there are two smaller circles that one in the northern half and one in the southern half, as you described it. And in the center of each one of those inner circles, there was another stone feature in the center of both of them. And for me, this is an important part of what Avebury means to me, because the stone circle that's in the southern half of the circle, of the main circle, the smaller inner circle, used to have one rather large, in fact, the largest of the sarsen stones that stands in the circle, which is called the obelisk, and it stood alone. We know about its shape and size because it was documented in the 1700s by a man called William Stukeley, and he described it as being 21 feet tall and just over 8 feet in diameter. And he tried to stop the local farmers from breaking it up, but unsuccessfully. So we thank him for the record. But that one stood alone, and many around here believe that to have been a phallic-shaped stone to represent the sacred masculine. On the other side of the road, so in the northeast section of the stone circle, there was another inner circle, and inside that one were an arrangement of stones that is called the cove, which many believe represent the pelvic bowl of the sacred feminine. And so contained within the large circle, there are the two smaller circles which denote the masculine and the feminine, which obviously also mirrors what happens here with the energy currents. So 1.5 miles to the southeast of Avebury, there is another sacred site called the Sanctuary, which was a smaller stone circle that also had some wooden posts, that was joined to the main circle by a stone avenue called the West Kennet Avenue, that had over 100 pair of stones that ran towards the main circle. I'm sure you will have explored that a little, Bart, when you were here. And that avenue marks the flow of the St. Michael ley, the actual masculine current. And the feminine current goes from the sanctuary where they cross together. The feminine current goes through West Kennet, Longbarrow, Silbury Hill, and comes and joins together at the South Gate Stones here in Avebury. And then the two currents very unusually run together, actually. As far as I'm aware, it's the only place along the St. Michael ley where they actually run side by side next to each other. And the masculine and feminine currents run through the obelisk, so the center of the masculine circle, to the center of the feminine circle, to the cove. And then they diverge and they go off across the countryside to come together again on top of a site called Windmill Hill, which is about 1.5 miles to the northwest. And so that's an important feature for me, that mirror, for me, the energy pathways are mirrored by the circle. Together, the whole story is about togetherness, balance, how the masculine and the feminine actually work together to create a harmonious energetic field.
I think that St. Michael ley line for me was, where that meeting was very grounding, and it seemed to be really pulling a lot of energy in from the earth. Whereas some other of the places, they seem to be pulling energy from the cosmos a lot. And so it's just, it just seems to be pulling from various places. And then
Well,
each stone in the circle or the outer circle almost has a personality of its own.
this is true.
Uh,
So
yeah,
for me, the place you're talking about where it feels you like you go deep into the earth is the center of the feminine cove. And it's
yeah.
almost like there's a big deep well there that goes to the very heart of Gaia. You know, it's so deep and so vast. And it really does speak to me of that feminine energy. You know, it speaks
Mhm.
to the heartbeat of the earth.
It
And
does.
the masculine, the obelisk, is much more of an energetics that really sends energy upwards, if you like. So if the feminine circle goes down, the masculine energy has got a rising energy there, that
And
can bring in the starlight.
we're right in the middle,
Yeah, yeah.
absorbing both of these dynamic uh, spirals.
Yeah, it's a powerful place to be on a day-to-day basis.
Makes me wonder, well, how did you survive 16 years of such intensity?
Well, to be fair, I don't actually live right in the middle. I work here in the hen shop, which is in the middle of the stone circle.
Well,
Um,
let's explain what the hen shop is and what you do there.
sure. So the hen shop is an independent shop. It sells, gift shops for the regular tourists that come here, but it has a lovely collection of spiritual gifts and books and cards and crystal skulls and some very special carvings that have been commissioned here. They also have a room that they is available to rent for people to do workshops. And then there's my room. So where I'm sitting right now is the Cosmic Classroom, which is on the first floor. And I'm totally blessed and always deeply grateful and humbled to be here, because out my window I can literally see the stone circle.
And
So
and
that's
and those who, if we've not made this clear, the hen shop is right in the middle of the stone circle
it
in a
is.
street.
It's on the high street here in Avebury.
We're totally vibed in it. And also, if you're interested in, and this is a little bit of diversion, if you want to find all the a map for all the current crop circles, you can find it in the hen shop, as well as these amazing photographic albums of each year, photographing all the henges. I mean, all the crop circles for that year.
Mm.
And one more thing, and we'll leave crop circles behind. There's always a crop circle somewhere around Avebury, if not more than one, uh, which really gives you a idea to a lot of the theories about the functioning of Avebury. Uh, what do you think about the theory that a lot of things begin in Avebury energetically?
For me, they're very much a powerful center. And there's definitely a star connection here. So if you're of the mindset that the crop circles are to do with connecting with the beings from the stars, then that could explain some of it. I know that the owner of the hen shop is very interested in crop circles. It's what drew him to the UK in the first place. He originally is from Belgium, and they've been here in Avebury now, exploring the energies, the crop circles, and running this beautiful facility here for, I think, 16 or 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. It's one of the few places that I go that I actually have hallucinations.
yeah. It's easy to
People
slip
look
between this
differently. And
this world and the other world when you're here, if you open yourself to do so.
really is. I've seen stones pop up when I've come to a place, and then I'll come back later and they're not there.
Mm.
Um, yeah, this is one of the few places that I've ever been that actually stimulates things like that.
I'm
Um,
really pleased to hear you've had like time slip experiences, because I have too.
yeah, they are. You step out of time But also, if you had those two worlds of masculine, feminine, Gaia, the stars, I always really saw it that it was a place where things begin, like you plant seeds there, almost.
When we work consciously with the energy here, which I do, obviously, that's my work, I feel. I've been called to come here deliberately to work in that space between the two realms, if you like, to work with the earth and to bring in the starlight codes so that we can birth new energies into the global energy grids and even the cosmic infrastructure is the way I look at it. You know, the ley line that runs through here carries the energies and the intentions that we put here. I see it going not just to the boundaries of the UK, like we spoke of, that's written in the book, but that energy just doesn't stop when it gets to the ocean. It goes under the ocean, and
It does.
it goes around the world. And I see it feeding into an infrastructure. You know, there's this global grid, if you like, that the energy that we connect to here, we can contribute in a very conscious and positive way when we do call in the star energies here in Avebury. And that really is the fundamentals of my work here now, is to open this space, open the hearts of the people that are guided to come to join me, so that we can communicate in a conscious way with those higher dimensional beings of light that come from the starlight realms.
What's that like? Because you've told me that you really have an affinity with the Pleiadians, and could you explain that relationship and
Sure.
and a lot what it feels like. I find that you can talk about it, and tell a story, but also there's the feelings and the sensations and what happens to you in that journey. Can you?
It's happening to me right now because we're saying it. What happens to me on a very physical level is I get like cold shivers, like somebody's just tipped an ice bucket down my back.
Yeah,
You
you look
know,
like you're getting a little giddy. I like it.
it's the reason is because when we call in the Palladian beings, they come so quickly because I'm used to working with them, and their vibration is so high. And when I say that, I mean, like you say, it is a bit like being giddy. They bring such an expansion of my to my heart that it feels like you're in love. You know, the first time you're in love when you're a teenager and you just
Hmm.
like you're just in that giddy girly or guy state where you know, the real world seems a little bit further away and you just enjoy and in love and you just feel excited. That's how
Yes.
it makes me feel when they're close by, because really, for me anyway, they're Palladian beings that I work with. And I should clarify that there are a number of different ones, so we should come back to that in a minute. But all of them have that thread that connects them together. That everything they share is about heart-centered awareness. Like
Yes.
how do we embrace love? How do we connect with it? How do we express it? How do we work with the heart center when we open our hearts in that way? You know, and there's lots to explore on that subject.
It really is. Now, of course, I'm in lovely France, southwest France, and there's a place here called Pic de Bugarache, and it's a mountain. And it's what it has in common with Avebury is they're both stargates. In other words, all of this conscious energy is coming from the star systems and other places, and it's just a big container. And then the energy goes out, in multitudes of directions, either laterally or horizontally or vertically. Um, and, and thus, Stargate there, you have lots of aliens, and they seem to pop in from time to time in my head. And one of them said, you define it as love. We define it as vibrations. And the more lighter your vibration comes, you generate more love. And the more love you generate, the lighter your vibration becomes. Uh, of course, I'm driving down the road on this Stargate, right beside this Stargate mountain while I'm hearing this, and then flashes in, flashes out. It's like, whoa, man, it's really uh, crazy. But it sounds like it's very similar to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you just get opened all the time.
If you allow it, and really by allowing, all you have to do is just sit still and not be actively thinking about other things when I'm tuned into it all. But really, it started for me, Bart, in 2007, and I started to come to Avebury every day just for an evening walk. I was really guided to go to the stones around sunset. And there was always one stone that I used to stop by. And when I did, I used to close my eyes and just lean into the stone. I'm sure many, many people have done that. And what used to happen for me was I would see these coloured shapes that kind of pulsed, a bit like a lava lamp or a swimming jellyfish, that had a colour to them, like a magenta-y, pinky purple colour. And they moved. Sometimes there was just one. Okay, sometimes there'd be two or three of them together, literally like you were watching the movement of a lava lamp. And I used to watch them and just get just in my heart, just really happy to be there. And I never really questioned at that time what I was seeing or why it was always there. And it was many years later, which is a long story. We'll skip through that. But many years later, I found out that they were higher dimensional beings of light from the Pleiades stars. And I found that out through working with the crystal skulls.
Wow.
And so crystal skulls have been a big catalyst for understanding my own connection with the star nations, as I call them, to all of the different beings of the stars. And many of those are beings.
What crystal skulls are for those who don't know.
Okay. Crystal skulls for me are, I've only mostly worked with ones that are modern crystal skulls that have been carved by some of the master carvers of the world. And I was introduced to them by the owner of the henge shop here in Avebury in 2010. For those of you that are able to watch on YouTube, I can show you my crystal skull I have here. So his name is Tony, as in tone and vibration, and he's made of a black and white stone called zebra stone. He's about the size of a cantaloupe. And he was the first skull that came into my awareness. And for about a year, I just carried it around. I didn't really, have a huge understanding of what it was going to be doing for me. But after some time and an experience that I had with a friend of mine called Dawn Henderson, I was doing a meditation for her when the skull was in the room, and she started to spontaneously channel the beings that came in through this guided meditation. And I recognized them energetically. I could see the pinky purple spots, and she saw them differently. But she started to channel them, and I was able for the first time to ask who they were and what they were and where they were from. And that's when I found out that they were the higher dimensional beings of light from the Pleiades stars.
Wow.
So that was quite an experience. And then Dawn and I, we were quite new friends at that time, but we became firm friends. And for about 2.5 years, we got together every week on a Monday to do channeling work together. And so just about everything I know about crystal skulls and much of what I know about the higher dimensional beings of light from the star nations came through those sessions and from subsequent sessions in a similar fashion.
So the skulls kind of worked as a conduit for it to open and come into you and through. And this is for all psychics out there. You did a lot of practice. You played with it and you experimented and you made it your own, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I wanted to just bring in that this is the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at Becoming Quantum Conscious. And we are talking to Sue Coulson. And you can find Sue at the www.cosmicclassroom.co.uk. And she has a Facebook page. And if you look on Facebook for the Cosmic Classroom, you'll be able to find her. And that would be Sue, as in Coulson, Coulson. And I just noticed on my ticker, I did not put Coulson in there. I put Sue Conscious. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, I quite like that.
Sue Conscious on the network, and she is so.
It's on my picture, so people can see on my picture.
Yeah, but you can go to her Cosmic Classroom, and who else has a website on co.uk, and really check out her stuff with that. But also, if you want to ask Sue a question and type in something on comments, we welcome that. We've been talking along pretty quickly here, but we are available for whatever curiosity you have about Avebury, the UK area, in this area, Wiltshire County, to be more specific. It's a very magical county. And also what Sue work is with the Cosmic Classroom. So if you're curious, ask a question. We love to answer them. And if you like the show, always press like on it. We always love to see likes on our radio show. And we're also just glad you're here on United Public Radio Network. Now, Sue brought me to a really interesting spot. There's so many interesting spots all around Avebury Stone Circle. And so if you're a tourist and you want to spend some days in the UK in the metaphysical, this is the place to be in Wiltshire County. It's just so amazing. I kind of split with three questions, but I just ask you a question. What do you have any theories on how this circle was created, or any dynamics with that? Any theories that you like?
Well, I have many theories, but of course they're only theories, aren't they? The archaeologists tell us that the stones that are stood up here, and there are a great many of them, that they are local stones. And I believe that, if you don't have to walk very far around Avebury to find these great giant megaliths lying flat in the field, they're still there. They're part of the remains of the Ice Age glaciation process, and there's some pretty big stones around. So I don't necessarily think it's like Stonehenge and they've carried them a long, long way. Some of them are quite, local stones. The reason, people always ask me that is, and it's a chicken and an egg, which came first, the energy in the land or the stone circle? The two complement each other for me, and it's hard to answer that question. I think it works. I think there was some energy here, and the stones have been erected to amplify the earth energies, and that some of the stones actually do call the earth energies into a more active role. So, it works both ways. There's not a definite, one or the other. For me, like you said, it kind of works a bit like a satellite dish. The stones are like acupuncture needles, if you like, and they amplify the energy that's flowing through the ground, and they radiate that to the stars, and they also receive the energy from the stars and bring it into the earth. And so it's kind of a two-way flow. It's not like it's just one way. And in that way, it helps with the cosmic connections, is the way I call it. It's like there are earth energy currents, there are pathways within the earth that connect sacred sites to sacred sites and other power points on the planet. And then there are some of those power points on the planet that are designed to receive and broadcast energy from our planet, even from our solar system and beyond, to connect us in with that cosmic infrastructure that helps to expand the way that the higher dimensional realms work. It's like it's access into that multi-dimensional fractal grid that connects all of consciousness together.
It does, and it's just so much bigger. I don't even know if we've really phantomed all of what something like the Avebury Stone Circle encompasses us. And it always brings up that question of like, who actually did it? Was it humans? Was it ETs? Was it a more evolved form of humans? It's all of these questions that always perplex me. But what I do know about that area is the unseen world of stone circles, crop circles. And one of my favorites is the Uffington horse and the Silbury Hill. There's just so much unexplainable phenomenon. And I know if anybody you are fans of the rock and roll band XTC, they use the Uffington horse, or as what Sue told me, it's the Uffington dragon on one of their album covers. That's probably where I saw it first. And when I saw it, this is 30 years ago, it just stopped me in my tracks. It was such a profound picture. It looks like something between a horse and a dragon. And it's on top of this huge hill where you cannot see the whole structure in one view unless you are flying over it. And of course, the ancient people at that time did not have helicopters. So it first brings up that suspicion. But Sue has had a very intimate relationship with this dragon. She rides with the dragon, folks. Trust me. I did a ritual with her on the dragon, and it was it impressed me greatly because you were bringing in cosmic energy of magnitude in the dragon's eye. It was phenomenal.
Thank you, Bart. It was a powerful day that we were there, and we were there to connect in ceremony with a star called El Tanin, which is one of the brighter stars in the Draco constellation, if I remember correctly. And that was because I'd been doing some work with the cosmic dragons here in Avebury, and they'd asked me to take a small group of people to anchor some more star codes into that sacred site to feed into a different line other than the one that comes here through Avebury. So there is another powerful ley, straight line alignment that goes up and down the UK. It goes from the Isle of Wight up through northern Scotland, through the Highlands and out to the Faroe Islands. And it was written in a book called The Spine of Albion by Gary Biltcliffe and Caroline Hawes. And the energy pathways that flow around that in a caduceus fashion, again, like spiraling and crossing at node points, are called the Belinus and Ellen line. And they cross on top of Dragon Hill, which is another earth mound that is just below the Uffington White Horse that you spoke about. And the female flow of that current, the Ellen line, goes right along the spine of the horse or the dragon and through the eye before it goes down to meet the masculine energy at the Dragon Hill. So in that book, it speaks about a straight line, like a vertical line. It's to do with literally star alignments that were in the early Bronze Age.
So when you say a vertical line, you're saying a line that goes up into the cosmos and then also sinks into the ground.
If you stand on the hill and look down onto Dragon Hill and use that as your marker and line that up with a point on the horizon, which is a place called Farringdon Folly. It's a tower on top of a hill. This is not my work, by the way. This is all coming from Gary Biltcliffe and Caroline Hall's book, but they've done work.
Hang on. You said to become the what? Could you say that again? It was your.
I'm not sure what I said, Bart. I've said to be honest. I want to be clear that I'm repeating something from a book, but it shows that when Vega, the star Vega, is on the horizon, just above that alignment that we see from the Dragon Hill to the hill at Farringdon, we see Vega, and above that would have been El Tanin, which is one of the brightest stars in Draco.
Wow.
The Draco constellation in the early Bronze Age would have stood vertically, like a celestial North Pole, if you like, pointing to that, to the North Pole stars at that time.
Now, you told me when we did the ritual that you had a period where you spent a lot of time on that in the dragon's eye, like something like every morning for a long stretch of time.
Yeah,
And I was curious, how did that change you?
Well, it's hard to explain how it changed me, because at the time I was very unconscious of any of this. It was just one of those places that was not far from where I lived, and I enjoyed going there to walk my dog, and there's a mound on the top of the hill, which I used to enjoy sitting on, and later in life I found out that it was a burial mound. But at the time I wasn't that conscious of what the energies were. I just knew that when I was there, I felt relaxed, I felt calm, I felt expanded, I felt happy. I was able to just relax and disappear into my own expanded, almost like a dreamy state, I guess.
Wow.
So
Really, this area has just changed your consciousness through your practice and diligence and just being open to what it was going to bring you, much like the skull you mentioned.
Absolutely. I mean, none of the things that have unfolded for me in my own personal spiritual journey were things I went seeking. It's not like I've read books and gone to lots of workshops. They're all personal experiences that have unfolded for me. And the biggest learning has come through that, and also from facilitating similar experiences for other people. When people come to Avebury and I take them on my not quite a tour of Avebury Stone Circle, it's more to do with, I help people to connect with the energies here. Like, in a very subtle way, I like stand here and, breathe deeply and imagine your energy sinking into the earth and opening to the stars, and just see what happens. And they receive energy in a different way, that with that small amount of guidance.
So maybe you're the conduit, much like your skull.
Possibly. I mean, I don't think I need to be there for people to do that. There are plenty of people that come here that know how to do that for themselves. But for those that don't have a lot of time to explore, because I've been exploring the landscape here for 16 years. So if you want the short version rather than 16 years worth of exploring it, I can help to put people in the right place to have the kind of experiences that are meaningful and allow people to really feel for themselves the power of this place and understand their own consciousness in a more expanded way. That's what I see my gift is here, is to help people to do it for themselves. It's not about what I know, it's about allowing other people to experience it so that it becomes real for them.
I totally agree. And if there's, I know this is just a little bit of an extension, but is there a trend or a lesson you start to see people learn through this? And how does it connect to the bigger picture of where we're evolving?
For me, it's a place of healing and balance, and it brings people who engage with it in a conscious way, with the land here, I mean, it brings them into a place where they really do settle more in an open way into their heart space. And that can bring, it depends where you're at when you come, but it can bring peace of mind. It can bring physical healing. It can bring a change in your understanding of yourself if you ask the stones to show you things. So there's one stone here, for example, that if you engage with it in in any way, it will show you your fears. I mean, it's not a stone for the faint-hearted, but if you're truly, on a healing journey and you know that you've got a resistance, you've got a block, you've got something unconscious that you're not aware of, but you can tell that it's there because something's manifesting in your physical world that feels uncomfortable for you, and you want to get to the root of that. That for me, that's true healing. It's like learning it from the inside. Then there's a stone here that if you lean on it and you go into meditation and you ask it to show you the truth, it never fails to show you the truth. And if you don't want to, if you're not ready to hear it, it literally spits you out. I mean, it's like it almost pulls you in if you're ready, like you disappear into it. And if you're not ready to hear it, will spit you out.
Wow. Next time I come back, you'll have to show me what stone that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this. I love the thoughts that you bring out, that we heal through our own heart, and the heart can take on so much energy, and expand us. In the stones, the cosmic structures of the earth, the star systems are all coming through that to give everybody their own individual guidance if they're willing to explore it.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a wonderful way to facilitate.
Thank you. For me, as I said, it's not about me sharing what I know, though obviously I've learned a lot along the way, and if it's appropriate, I will help to guide people, or at least confirm for people what their experiences are. But really, it's about allowing people to have their own experiences, and to meet the beings from the starlight realms for themselves. That's another key part of us all being together in the classroom and doing group work here, is that when we call in one of the star nations, through the events I do called Speaking with the Star Nations or the Star Wisdom workshops, we really focus on bringing through a very pure and clear connection, leaving all the other things outside of it, and so that we can connect authentically with just the purity of one particular star and the conscious beings that are connected to it. And we always find that everybody has their own unique take on that. Obviously, everybody's got their own energy and their own filter, their own understanding in their mind of and experiences to bring to the encounter. But there's always a common theme and a common thread. And quite often, when we share that, it's a confirmation for everyone that this is a real thing that's really happening for us all together.
It is,
and collectively, there's usually something that comes through for us to do.
It is. I appreciate your humility with it and your modesty.
Thank you.
That you have been here and it has transformed you, obviously. As I've known you through some of the encounters, you're softer in an energy than you were before.
Oh, thank you.
You have changed, and yet you're still doing the work of saying, I just facilitate. I create ease for other people to have their own journey. And that's so much about what these great power spots do.
For sure.
And it's great to have a guide that will help you, like yourself, at www.cosmicclassroom.co.uk. You get to have your own experience. I know with my experience with the Avebury, I would walk in a clockwise direction and meditate with each stone and set an intention about what I would like to see created in the world and in my own life. And I would spend the day doing this type of spell making.
Mhm.
And then there's these stones that are outside the circle that almost look like a pathway. They're in pairs and they go out in a pair like
Yeah,
they're the guidelines to a roadway.
they are, darling. That's the West Kennet Avenue that goes all the way to the sanctuary, and it marks the flow of the masculine energy between the stone circle and that special site.
Okay. So I would go to the end of that
Mm.
and take all of a big ball of all of these intentions I've been creating with the betterment of the world and the creation of my own life. And I would just boom, send it out. And then my day is done. Time to go have a beer or or do something, have a hamburger. It's like the end of the day. Well, it's like, nobody makes good beer like England and Ireland. So when I go, I got to have a beer. And just not as exciting in the United States. Hope I don't offend anybody, but that's how I see it. Uh, yeah, so I think everybody has a different, there's so many varieties, interpretations. We got a couple of more minutes. Is there something you would like to share about what you do or something else about Avebury we've not covered?
I think the one of the biggest things about Avebury is that I love the fact that you use it in a conscious way to create that way. But for me, it gives you a lot as well. So you can create through this space the kind of intentions that you're setting, but it's also set up to receive. You can come here and just walk the circle without having to really work at it. You can just come and be and leave in a more balanced frame of mind. And I think that that's one of the true blessings of coming to the Stone Circle. Whether you come to visit me or not, it's something about walking the entire site, like walking, like you said, clockwise or anti-clockwise around the whole circle, that brings a level of balance and peace to people and gives them the insights, um, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, to make changes in their world and to follow their own path in a clearer and more authentic way.
Hmm.
So I think that's a real blessing, that the stones offer everybody that comes here.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, wow, I really look forward to coming again, and I don't know if I'm making it this summer, but hopefully next summer I will. Uh, it's my motivating factor to come to the UK is to see the Avebury Stone Circle, not Stonehenge, not Glastonbury, the Avebury Stone Circle. It's right in the center of the real power spot, and this woman works right in the middle, and is such a sincere, and I say modest facilitator. You're very dedicated to it, and
Oh,
I so appreciate it.
thank you, Bart. I appreciate that too.
Yeah, and there's so many spots we didn't cover. You gave
There
me
is.
once a bottle with like you said that you got it from 8 different wells in the area, and I still have this bottle of water that has these wells, and it's still super powerful. I can pick it up, and I return to that vibration that is England, that is so special.
Yeah. That is a long story, but yeah, enjoy that. there, so there's
Yeah,
more to share about that, but let's just say it's going to tap you into the real heart of the world. It's going to tap you into that heart-centered knowing that is really available here in Avebury Stone Circle.
wow, that's eloquently explained.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Sue
you're welcome.
Coulson. And once again, Sue's website www.cosmicclassroom.co.uk. You can find her there or find her on Facebook. She has a wealth of information and also some really awesome photographs of the Avebury Stone Circle. And I just appreciate your passion for this place. It's just inspiring. So
Thank
thank
you,
you for
Bart.
being on the show.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. I look
Yes.
forward to the day that you're here again, and I invite anybody that is in the area to look me up. And also, if you would be kind enough to just let me plug, I have some online events coming up this weekend to connect with the Pleiades energies, because it's the solar alignment of the Pleiades stars this weekend for the new moon. So there are a number of events coming up, and some of those are online as well, if you'd like to join me from other parts of the world.
Yum. That sounds great. Well, thank you, Sue. And we're running out of time. I wanted to say that next week I'll be by myself on solo with making magic in relationships. It's going to be a magical hour about how to relate easier, better, and more heart-centered, just as Sue's talking about. And so come join us next week at United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 107.7, 105.3. Thank you for being here with us. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.